Okay. Thank you, everybody, for attending this evening's meeting of Grounds and Environmental Services Committee, Monday the 11th of September. I have a bit to read out about... I don't have to read it out. Oh, sweet. Cool. Okay, so we're going to crack on because it's a little bit of a long agenda and it happens to be Madam Mayor's birthday today.
Happy birthday.
She's a happy birthday, Madam Mayor. So we're going to crack on, try and get through as quick as we can. But obviously, if you want to talk about stuff, talk about stuff. First off, we have apologies for absence. I have apologies from Councillor Tamara. Do we have anything else?
Yes, thank you. We've also received apologies from Councillor Mark Davis.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Second of all, declarations of interest. Does anyone have anything to declare with regards to this evening's meeting? Okay. If there is anything further on in the meeting that you need to declare with regards to anything on the agenda, that's fine. You can just bring it up at the time. It's not a problem. Point 3 on the agenda is to agree the minutes of the meeting of 5th of June 2023 as a true record. The minutes were previously circulated. Do I have any proposals to agree the minutes? And a second?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's that. Do we? Can we vote on that? Do we have? Does everyone agree that the minutes were okay? Show of hands. Brilliant. Thank you very much. So do I sign the minutes now? Each page. No problem. Okay. Item 4 is to receive the minutes of the meetings of the Plans Subcommittee held on 30th of May, 20th of June, 11th of July, 1st of August, 22nd of August. So I'm just going to go through it page by page. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like to raise in points, ask away as I go through the pages. So starting with the meeting of 30th of May, page 3, page 4, page 5. Any questions or comments? Nope. Great. 20th of June, that's page 6, page 7, page 8. Brilliant. 11th of July, page 9, page 10, page 11. First of August, page 12, page 13, 14, 15, 22nd of August, page 16, 17. Okay, great. So we've received the minutes. That's item 4 out of the way. Fantastic. Item 5 is the Creasy Park Community Football Centre and Bennett Splash Park Information Report. I'm going to go to James for this report. Take it away, James.
Thank you, Chairman. Evening, councillors. I'll run through the Creasy Park section first, then take any questions, and I'll move on to Bennett's. So just running through the report, AstroTurf. The winter block bookings have started now. On ATP1, ATP2, we're at 100% bookings, with only some slight bookings from slots available from 6 till 7 and 5 till 6, 9 till 10. They're at 80%, and we've got about 75 teams using the AstroTurf at the moment, so extremely busy and good start to the season. Both the first teams have started their league seasons, and the main stadium pitch will have 6 teams using the pitch, calling it at home, which I've listed there. Includes 2 women's teams this year, which is promising for the female game at the football centre. And the youth season started just this weekend, and there'll be about 50 youth teams using the pitches this weekend. So be a busy season ahead. Close season was very busy. AFC Dunstable had their annual football festival, saw 60 teams attend. We had holiday programmes, and we continued the pay and play scheme, which was very busy, which Hayley will vouch for because she was there most days, which on average over the 6 weeks saw about 40 to 50 young people every day. So that was very good. We did a pay and play survey to capture as much as the young people were willing to complete it, just to give us an idea of where they were coming from, the genders and age ranges. So in terms of postcodes, which I can share this to councillors post the meeting, LU5 there was 41.5%, LU6 44% were the majority of where young people came from. We did have a few from AL, which is AL3, which is Marquee 8-way, I think, and some LU1s to LU3, LU4 and LU7 all visiting, so they were coming from, but predominantly as LU5 and LU6. And as we'd expected, 85% were under 16, but we did have a few 17 to 19-year-olds and 30 to 40 and 50, which are parents that are attending with their children. And it's predominantly 90%, 91% male, but there was nearly 9% female, so we're getting some females coming down to play. But that was a good representation of where they were coming from and genders. And we'll continue our user survey as it's on the website. So we're encouraging all users to complete it to get an idea of where everyone is coming from and get some more data from those that use the centre. Moving on, income and expenditure. It's been a positive start to the first quarter, where you'll see over the first 4 months income is up by about 25% on the same time as last year. So busy, which has been very good, and people spending. The only slight dip was July, just because last year there's been anomaly. We had some very big charity events that we didn't have this year, but secondary spend is looking positive at the moment, which is good. And going on to how the year end looks, it's a very early forecast at this stage, but we were budgeting a 31k deficit. At the moment, we're budgeting a 20k deficit, so there's a 10 grand positive variance at the moment. So we're hoping that will improve. There is some caution on terms of the football income, because a large part of our off-peak income comes from Central Beds College. They haven't confirmed any usage with us. They've confirmed a little bit, but they usually block book for the whole academic year. Since the takeover with Bedford College, their timetable at Creasy Park's been cut. So we're trying to work to secure some other bookings, but they haven't committed to any confirmed academic bookings, which is a bit of a loss for the centre, which I've obviously mentioned in the operational update there. In terms of the contract, so Central Beds Council had suspended their planned tendering process and invited Dunstable Town Council to submit a management proposal, which we presented in early July. We know that we've received the report, but we haven't had any further communication from the council in terms of that report. So at the moment, Creasy Park, Dunstable Town Council are managing Creasy Park to the end of March. any questions.
Thank you very much for that, James. I have Madam Mayor for the first question.
It's not a question as such. I just wanted to say thank you for providing the statistics for the pay and play. It's good to hear that children and young people are coming across from the whole of Dunstable, not just the north of Dunstable, where we thought we had an issue. So LU5 is obviously the east ward of Dunstable, so they are travelling some distance to use the facility, which is really good news to hear, as well as those visiting as well. As a whole, the centre's done really well. And I just, you know, I obviously held a quiz night down there not so long back as part of my mayoral year, and just wanted to thank, you know, the whole team down at Creasy Park. They really did support that event, and it was a really good night. Wasn't easy with the group of, let's say, very competitive quizzers, but it was a very good night, and the team did extremely well. And having been at the football a couple of weeks ago as well, with Dunstable Town Football Club with Councillor Hollig, coming along with me, it was really good to see again how vibrant the centre was on that Tuesday evening, even though it was a very wet Tuesday evening. But well done.
Thank you.
Any other questions for James? If not, I have a question. With regards to Central Bedfordshire College and Bedford College, essentially, do we know why they have dropped their usage?
We don't know. We don't know specifics. Some of the college students who also work for us hadn't even been given their timetable at the start of the year, so they were still unknown to where they were having their classes. They have since booked some AstroTurf time and some classroom space this week, I believe, Hayley. So I think they're still getting to know what they're actually doing this year, but there wasn't any specifics. I don't think it was anything to do with what Creasy Park as such. It was an internal matter. So, no.
Okay, well, thank
I'll
you
move
very
on
much,
to
James.
Bennett Splash.
Yep.
So Bennett Splash and the Splashside Cafe. The Splashmount Cafe has now closed. We did extend for an extra week, so our planned closure was a week ago Sunday, which we actually just closed yesterday. It's been a challenging season in terms of the weather more than anything, so we haven't had many issues with the splash park itself or drainage, which we've had in the past. All those new pumps we've put in and work we've done have worked, which was really pleasing. It's just we had a very great start in June, then a very wet July. August picked up in an amazing week in September, which is what we have to deal with the splash park. And I put a table in there. It just illustrates how weather dependent, how the weather affects the income of the splash park so much. Where May, where the weather wasn't so great, we were below. So in terms of profiling, the target is £1,800 a week is what I aim to, because that's what to hit budget. June we were well over that. July we were under, but then we had a great August, and this last week I know has actually been our best trade week. So opening that extra week has actually turned out to be our best trading week. So I hope to report at the next committee when we've completely closed the books on the splash park in terms of income and expenditure, that I feel that will look positive in terms of income. Certainly, I think we'll certainly hit our income target, which I'm not sure we've done in previous years. So I was very pleased about that. So that was good. We've installed the parasols, so they've been well used, and we put some extra benches at the front and some extra shades, which I know were well received by the public. In terms of parking, Dunstable Town Council haven't received any parking complaints, but I know via CBC they have. I've had meetings with Central Beds Council to discuss again what we might be able to do to combat that. Unfortunately, a lot of it is down to uncontrollable public behaviour. However, the initiative we put in place as Dunstable Town Council was that anyone that parked in Ashton Square car park and proved payment on that day could come to the cafe and get 50% off a hot drink, which we had about 20 people to take that off at the time of this writing, so we tried to do what we can. Unfortunately, there'll always be an issue of parking. It's just trying to, we did as much promotion of the car park as we can, social media, leafleting, and keep an eye on it. So that will always be work in progress, I think. We had an extremely busy Seaside Day in partnership with the Youth and Community Services team, and there's about 1,500 people throughout the day. And again, we offered a 10% discount to those that attended our Youth and Community Seaside Day, a voucher in the cafe, and that was taken up by a number of people as well, so that was very good. We started our party package this year, and we took 8 parties, so that brought in some extra income, which was good. And we had very good positive feedback about that. I think the fact that we offered a very low-cost birthday offer to parents, where having children know is running parties can be quite expensive and difficult, so they're very appreciative of us being able to offer that for them. And we continue to promote the cafe as a venue hire option now the centre's closed. And I have a meeting, or we've already planned some events with the youth and community team, and I have a meeting with Shire Funeral Directors just down on the road here about offering a Never Alone coffee morning at the Splash Park on a weekly basis, so I'm meeting them this week. That's it.
Thank you very much, James. That's a very good report. Before we close off, does anyone have any questions on the Splash Park? No? Well, I want to say thank you very much for your hard work, James. The extra week of Splash Park opening was fantastic. I think everyone in the town was very appreciative. Everyone who used it, obviously, anyway. And thank you, Hayley, for all the stuff all the work that everyone's doing in Creasy Park and Splash Park. Really, it would be really good if we could get some CBC councillors to have a word about these motorcycles that keep going around the place. Maybe some of the twin hatters at the table can have a word, because it's ridiculous. So yeah, thank you very much, James. Thank you very much, Hayley, for your work. Moving on to the next point on the agenda, we have the cemetery and allotments. I believe you're going to Mary. Thank you very much.
Good evening, members. It's only a very short report this evening. The Friends of the Cemetery still continue to meet every 2 weeks, and we're always looking for new volunteers. The Green Flag judge visited the cemetery in April for a full inspection, and the results were announced on the 19th of July at a ceremony in Peterborough. And I'm pleased to say that the cemetery has retained its Green Flag status. The council has also recently completed resurfacing works to 3 tarmac roadways in the cemetery, and also paving slabs have been relaid and replaced along 4 sections of footpath. The work helps to keep the cemetery safe, well maintained, and this is in line with the Green Flag Management Plan. An order has recently been placed for 10 new ashes sanctums, which will be located alongside existing sanctums in the cemetery extension. And then moving on to allotments, there are currently 288 people on the waiting list, and officers are currently in the process of contacting those on the waiting list to see if they wish to remain on there. This exercise is carried out twice yearly. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mary. Do we have any questions on the cemetery or the allotments?
Hi, I'd just like to ask whether we think that figure's going down on the waiting list or whether it's gradually increasing upwards. What's the trend?
It's maintaining at the moment, yes, yeah. When any plots are given up, if they're a large plot, we are then taking the opportunity of halving that plot or quartering it in order to try and help that. But at the moment we are pretty static, so we will lose some, but then we go back up to the 288 again.
Thank you, Mary. Councillor Reardon.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a question, I have a comment to pass on to you. One of my friends was recently dealing with you over the burial of their mother, and she said how wonderfully helpful you were and what wonderful facilities there were. So I just wanted to pass that on. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say massive thank you for all the work you do, Mary, with regards to the cemetery, the allotments. I thank you to the Friends of Dunstable Cemetery as well for all the hard work that they do. And the green flag is obviously fantastic news. The cemetery, I do think, looks amazing all year round, so it's a very good job. And thank you to Councillor Atwell for representing the council at the award ceremony. That's very good, along with officers, obviously. Thank you very much, guys. And so we're going to move along to recreation grounds. Dimmy?
Thank you very much, Chair. Good evening, members. I will start with the play areas, skate parks and BMX track. Since the last committee meeting, we had one incident of vandalism at the play area in Bennett Memorial Recreation Ground. Since then, an order was raised to carry out remedial works, and the company will do it shortly, make it right. There is also a couple of new bins was installed in Bennett after a request from a member of public. The skate parks remain well used, and continuous maintenance work are carried out periodically. I can report also that the new bolt-up fencing has been installed, and this landscaping work completed at Francis Avenue. In terms of sport pitches and the general ground maintenance, as we get towards the end of the season, shortly we stop cutting the grass as frequently as we done through the summer. In terms of football, the new season has commenced on recreation grounds. In this season, the town council will trial the use of a new pitch booking software online website to make easier the booking for clubs and teams. This also make the life of the leagues so they have to deal less with the financial side. I can report that the playground at Kingsbury Recreation Grounds has been completed. There is still some snagging works, which is inevitable as it's a well-used place. And I can also give an update on that the town council received the necessary permit from Central Bedfordshire Council, so the work on the Muga has begun. And if everything goes well, it will be completed in the next fortnight. Following that, the town council will arrange an official opening ceremony, which members will be updated shortly. As you already know, the town council secured a green flag for Bennett Memorial Recreation Grounds, and an official flag raising ceremony will take place in a couple of weeks' time, and members will receive an official invitation very shortly. Any question on sport issues around maintenance?
I believe Councillor O'Riordan first.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dimmy, for that report. I've got one comment and one question. Question is with regards to signs at the skate park. Will there be any signs placed at the skate park to indicate that toilets can be used at the hub?
Not to my knowledge, as we were not aware that actually toilet can be used at the hub. So we could look into it, but we are not aware that this arrangement is in place.
Okay, I should follow it up to find out if it is official. It just would stop users of the skate park toileting on the grass and in the bushes, which would be nice. With regards to the skate park itself, I did notice yesterday I'd noticed it over time, but it came to my mind yesterday that the use of it has changed since the apartments have started to be occupied, in that there's less antisocial behaviour. Like, there's no broken glass in the car park, which is really good. There are less cars zooming around the car park, and it's a much quieter atmosphere, which it just seems to be very respectful. So I just want to commend the local people that use it, that, you know, the way that they behave and use it, it's just really respectful and it's just really welcome. Thank you.
Yes, I'm glad to hear it, because I receive less reports from the team who maintain it around antisocial behaviour or anything broken glasses. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Atwell.
Yeah, I'd just like to raise a motion regarding the replacement of the fence in Metmore Recreation Ground. I've already spoken to John and had a meeting with him about it. But for awareness, the fence, the boundary fence between the recreation ground and the farmer's field has become in a pretty bad state of repair for some time now. There's a lot of it's actually collapsed to the ground or been trampled to the ground. Unfortunately, kids get their balls over there, and you know, it gets trampled down over time. It's a chain link fencing which didn't really fit for purpose for a long time, so unfortunately it's all become dilapidated now, particularly around the entrance area, where it's become a health and safety issue because you've got spikes of this metal that's broken and standing out. So I have raised, as I say, with John to see what we can be done about it. I know that you know, I understand obviously with budgetary concerns and things like that, but it'd be nice if we can get a movement on it to see if we can get it to be a bit more respectable than it is.
Okay, just to clarify, you said at the start that you were to raise a motion. Do you have a formal motion that you want to raise on that, or are you just asking to raise the question?
So I wouldn't suggest that members raise specifically a motion, because you can't raise a motion unless you've given us notice beforehand to do it, unless it's certain things. But I think, Councillor Atwell, you're raising a subject for discussion under this agenda item and requesting for John to reply to that appropriately.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay, John, do you have any update for that?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd originally suggested that a wooden fence would be an appropriate thing to have along that fence line between the farmer's field and at the back of what we've now planted, which is a hedgerow, which is coming along fairly nicely, and that Kathy will mention a bit later in the report. And that wooden fence would be a two-rail fence with wooden posts, wooden rails, and a stock-proof fence at the bottom. Not so much to stop things coming into the park, but actually to stop the dogs that are off the lead getting out of the park quite so easily and into the farmer's field. I know Councillor Atwell was a little bit concerned about having a wooden fence, and I wonder whether a good compromise would be to have a section of metal mesh fencing, far more robust than the chain link fencing that we've used in the past, which we no longer use anymore. The last time that was replaced was about 2009-10. So we have a section of about 10 to 15 metres at the entrance of metal fence, and then which runs up to the hedge, and then when the hedge starts we have the wooden fence behind. The intention there is that when the hedge grows up, that effectively becomes the boundary, and as the wooden fence slowly deteriorates, you let the hedge grow over it, and then it's less obvious and you don't need to replace it in the future. So I think that would be a good compromise, and I would be happy to look into that further if members are in agreement, with a view to either bringing a spend proposal to the November committee, or if it's under £10,000, using the Chair's delegated authority to agree that. And we would just need to update our quotations to make sure that we are within or beyond those, beyond that 10,000 limit. So I don't know what members think about that as a suggestion.
Okay. Okay, so just... Liz, do you remember your question that you had from previously? You want to come back on this? I'm just making sure that you remember what it was you were to say before, because I had you on the list of talking. So, yes, Liz.
Okay. Are we talking about the whole length of fence along the whole length of the park of Mentmore that needs to be replaced, or is it just sections that need to be replaced? So obviously I've seen some pictures that Richard shared. Is it the absolute whole length? If it is, that's a considerable amount of work and financial cost that we would need to consider. So I would certainly like to see a spend proposal come back to committee.
So just to update members on that, the original quotation that we got when we were looking to secure grant funding from CBC, which wasn't forthcoming, was to do the whole length from the entrance all the way up to our ownership at the end, at the very top left-hand corner, if you're looking from the entrance into the recreation ground, and that was about £6,500, and you've got about £6,500 in the reserve at the moment. If we add a metal piece of fence on, that will increase the cost slightly, but reduce the cost for the wooden fence. So we need to go back. It's probably better to bring a spend proposal to the committee in November.
I'm very much in favour of having a spend proposal brought in November. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say on that? Councillor.
Yeah, just in response to that, I think what John's proposing there would be a metal section. Does seem quite sensible, because whilst I accept the hedge grows obviously going to protect that part, you know, it needs to obviously establish, and it's going to be a good few years before it establishes to that point. My concern was obviously for the whole lot being wood, you know, you get kids jumping over it for getting their balls back, and it gets a lot of bashing. It's in an open public field, so it does get a lot of use, and it's very exposed there. So wooden fence, I was questioning the longevity of it and how cost effective that would be for the council. So it does sound like the proposal to have a section of metal and then the wooden part until the hedge grows up further would be the best way forward. So I think that's a good idea.
Thank you very much. Is anyone against the idea of a spend proposal being brought in November? No, and that's agreed. Yes, please, John. So if there are, Liz, if you want to come back on the
Yeah, sorry.
on the skate park.
It's not skate park, it's about sports pitches. I've noticed that obviously a football season has started again in Kingsbury. I've noticed that a car's been parked outside the pavilion. So how are they getting access to be able to bring their car in to the outside of the pavilion in setting up the football pitches for their matches? Question mark. Don't expect you to answer tonight, but that's a bit of a concern that cars are getting through.
Yes, I think in this occasion, it was this weekend, wasn't it? This happened this weekend, was by.
I actually saw it one night last week, there was a car there as well, whether that was a training match or a training session. My question is, how are they getting through that barrier that is locked?
For yesterday, because the company was working there, so I could imagine, and last week they were still working there, the contractors who had key to the barrier, and they were parking their vehicles on the pitch. So all I can imagine is the people saw it was open and they just drove in. Previous years, we didn't have reports on that. So that's the only explanation.
John, do you have any further to add?
I think I'm right, Dimmy, in understanding that the clubs have a key to the barrier to allow ambulances, should they need to get across to the pitch, as part of one of the safety features. So it may well be that a club has got a key and then somebody is abusing the use of that key a little bit, and we might just need to go back to the clubs and remind them that they've got a key, but the key is there for access should it be needed by an ambulance rather than general use.
The reason I've raised it is obviously that park has become highly popular in the last week since the new play equipment was opened. There's lots of little ones running around. If we're going to have cars making movements within that park area, we really need to be careful. Obviously, we've got that consideration to happen when we develop the bowls. That might become an issue, but we haven't thought that through now in our management plan at the minute. We just need to, it's a safety concern that I've got, and I'm sure others will have found it, you know, this weekend in particular, seeing it.
Okay, so Dimi, if you could investigate that for me a little bit further.
Yes, most certainly, and I can email at least I can email to the clubs and warn them to not to do it, just in case of emergency. With this new system we started using, I actually have contact details so them directly know who they are, so I can tell them.
Thank you, Dimi. Are there any more questions on sports pitches and general ground maintenance? I have a question, which is, which park gets a green flag next?
I think that's entirely up to members to decide at some point in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Oh.
I think that is absolutely a subject that members may want to consider in the future as we talk about the corporate plan. However, members may also want to consider whether the appropriate thing is to choose another park to put all that effort into, or whether there are things we can do consistently across all the remaining recreation grounds to bring them all up to a certain level. 4 green flags for a council our size just keeping them is a huge achievement for the team. So I think there is a balance between actually how much effort do we put into all the outlying areas and how much do we go for more green flags. Although I did enjoy the ceremony, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Dimi, if you'd like to carry on with Town Ranger Services.
Yes, thank you very much. The Town Rangers has received a new electric pedestrian sweeper at the end of July, and it is very well used, and they very much appreciate the approval from members to procure this piece of kit. In town centres, the flower displays across the town has been well received. This year, the council decided to go with a red, white and blue mix. The agreement, the contract between the Town Council and CBC for the upkeep of the urban splinters has been completed, and it was handed over to the Town Council. This contract will run for the next 2 years, and the Town Council has started the remedial work planting, and we shortly start working out a new management plan to ensure that it is very well kept for the time being. Any question?
Liz?
The Herbis planters, there's a couple on Middle Row on Ashton Square that have got quite significant damage on them that was obviously damaged before we took over. What are CBC doing about it to have those repaired or replaced? Because we shouldn't be taking on damaged planters, and you know they are significantly damaged where potentially people's hands could get into the damaged areas.
John, if you'd like to answer that question.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's a fair point. I was actually out with somebody from CBC Highways today to look at the possibility of relocating a couple of planters near the bus stop at the Quadrant, because there's a sight line issue there, and moving those things is quite a thing to do. And I pointed out the fact that we'd got some damaged ones on Ashton Square, and that on 1 or 2 places the coating is coming off, and I've offered them, subject to them giving us the tools to do it or finding out what the best remedy is, that our rangers would go and undertake repairs where they could. But members need to remember the contract is for maintenance, not, we don't own the asset. The asset still belongs to Central Bedfordshire Council, so it's up to them to undertake the repair or take it away or replace. That's the arrangement under the contract, but I have raised it with them, so they are aware.
Thank you, John. I was going to suggest I had a suggestion for what we could do with the Herbis planters, but I think I'll probably keep that to myself. So, no, that was brilliant. Thank you very much, Dimi. And thank you for all your hard work, and to all the town rangers, because the town does look pretty good, and the town rangers do a fantastic job in all they do. I've seen Facebook posts from quite a few people just praising them on their work. So I'd like to extend that praise from the council itself. Moving on, Kathy, would you like to take Dunstable in Bloom?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, councillors. So Dunstable in Bloom this year again have carried out a very successful project with shops and businesses around the town centre to provide floral displays. 30 baskets have gone up in the town centre on High Street North, High Street South and Langdale Road. And then we worked in partnership, or the council and Dunstable in Bloom worked in partnership with the Quadrant to deliver 20 barrels and floral displays in the Quadrant. And I think they've been well received. They've been well maintained by the businesses, and they've pretty much looked lovely all summer for people to enjoy. So we then had a wonderful day in July with the Anglia in Bloom judges. They were taken on a tour of the best projects within the town, and we actually everybody that participated had a really lovely day. And we'll receive the results of the Anglia in Bloom competition on the 20th of September in Huntington, and members of Dunstable in Bloom and Councillor Liz Jones, the town mayor, will also be in attendance. We are planning a project to replace the old pergola in Priory House Gardens. There's currently £15,000 worth of funding for this project, and the Friends of Priory House and Gardens are intending to raise further funding for the project. Officers are currently working on a brief to approach metalwork fabricators, and pending the agreement of the design and costs, and subject to scheduled monument consent, we envisage that if all of those things can go ahead, we would like to be able to deliver this project by the end of March 2024. There is a new volunteer gardening group called Dunstable Urban Gardeners that I've mentioned before. I'm working with a core group of 6 volunteers, and we've been carrying out horticultural maintenance in certain areas around the town, and our efforts kind of enhance the efforts of the grounds team. And that's been working really well, and we feel quite established now. We work every Thursday together. Moving on to Mentmore Recreation Ground, the planting that took place for the tiny forest and the hedgerow, that's establishing well, despite some losses and some vandalism. They're actually establishing well. And officers are now looking to secure further funding from CBC and maybe some other sources of funding, just to extend some of the existing copses within the park at Mentmore. And if those funding applications are successful, hopefully we'll be able to get that planting done during the 2023-2024 planting season. And then finally, the Methodist Church Garden Project, phase 2 of the project on the south side of the church has now been completed. So the council's involvement in delivering that project has come to an end. However, we will be involved still if the church feel they need us in an advisory capacity. And the next time that you're passing by, have a look at the new garden on that side. And then any questions?
Councillor O'Riordan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for that. I did see the new gardens at the Methodist Church, and it looks really good, really lovely. My question is about I love the name, Dunstable Urban Gardeners. How do people register their interest if they want to join you on a Thursday?
So initially the council carried out a recruitment drive, and it was really just sort of initially via Dunstable in Bloom and word of mouth. and I just had people that particularly were interested in gardening, and they came and met with me, and we worked together initially on a sort of trial basis to see if it was right for them and right for us. And at this point in time, I've got 6 people, and that sort of seems to be working well, and it's just about as much as one person can manage. So I have 3 volunteers in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. But those people have got quite a lot of horticultural knowledge. They're really knowledgeable gardeners. So it's been great sort of working with them and kind of passing on the knowledge about how to look after all the planted features within the town to them. So that, but in time, there may be possibility to encourage more people to get involved. But at the moment, I've come to the capacity of what I can manage. So.
Thank you so much. I know there are some people that would be interested. So when it comes to it growing, pardon the pun, please let me know. I understand there's a bedding in period, so yeah, thank you.
Councillor Atwell?
Yeah, I've just got one small thing I'd just like to ask. Obviously, regarding the extension for funding for the trees, you know, in the COPS area and stuff like that, it may be worth considering at that same time as well. There's a couple of the oaks that haven't made it in the hedgerow, so it's probably a good idea to keep that in mind to incorporate it into the whole thing.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Actually, I've already got the oaks. We've already got a plan to replace some of the oaks within the hedgerow, so that's great. But in terms of kind of the trees that we plant in the copse, I'd like to include some oaks in that planting as well.
Thank you very much, Kathy. And a big thank you for everything you do. And also I know it sounds like you just thank everyone all the time, but like the amount of volunteers, I don't think a lot of people realise just how much of the beauty that comes through Dunstable is done by volunteers and people who aren't paid and just do it because they love the town. So to anyone who volunteers for the council, I just want to say a big thank you. I think that's amazing stuff, and it really makes a difference in the town. So thank you. We're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is the allotment tenancy agreement, I believe. I've actually lost my page. There it is. Yep, so the next on the agenda is item 7, the allotments tenancy agreement. I'd like to remind councillors that if they have any declarations of interest for this item specifically, speak now.
Thanks for the cue. As an allotment holder, I think that's a declaration of interest. Is that right?
Yes, it will be, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we're going to go back to Mary on this one.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report this evening is to make some changes to the existing tenancy agreement. It is some years since the agreement was last reviewed and updated, and it is good practice to review the agreement periodically. I have given some background to the allotments in section 2, which I hope is clear. The purpose of the tenancy agreement is to ensure that all parties to the agreement understand their obligations and conditions of the tenancy. We have reviewed and amended the current agreement to reflect the required changes that we have identified over the last few years. And a copy of the revised tenancy agreement is detailed in Appendix 1. I have given a summary of the main changes, and the biggest change is to add details on cultivation standards, and this is to give a clear guidance. As part of that, we are proposing that members also adopt the National Allotment Society policy, which is also detailed in Appendix 2. We have also added a section on appeals, and we've tightened up the section on waste, bonfires and smoke nuisance. If members are minded to approve the new tenancy agreement, it will go out with the payment requests in January 24. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mary. Does anyone have any questions with regards to the changes to the tenancy agreement? No? No questions? Okay, so we need to approve this new tenancy agreement. Let's see. Do we have...
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to propose the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And a second? Thank you very much, Councillor Rantwell. That's proposed in a second. Do we have a for? Hands, show of hands for? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Brilliant. Moving on. That was quick and painless. So, item number 8 is the updated vehicle management policy.
It's going to be me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nimi.
Chair. The last vehicle management policy was created back in 2010. It's still by and large fit for purpose. However, we felt that since the technology involved and we also looked at different option of purchasing, so the council felt that it's worth to update, and we are seeking approval from members to approve the new updated vehicle management policy. In addition to that, at the moment we are preparing a replacement program, which will be a comparison between purchasing vehicles outright or leasing them, which will be presented to the committee in a future meeting. Any question on the management policy?
No questions? Wonderful. Okay. Well, that's, yeah, again, quick and painless. Do we have anyone that can propose it for approval? And a seconded. Can we, just in case, can we have that on the microphones, please?
Happy to propose it.
Happy to second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. And all in favour?
That's unanimous.
Brilliant. That's good. I can't actually, it may be sad, but coming from transport, like working as a mechanic, I'm actually quite excited to see that report. How boring is that? Okay. So item number 9 is reports from outside organisations. We have, Nick isn't here, so I guess, yes please, Councillor Jones.
Nick did represent the council at the DMC at Central Bedfordshire Council with regards to one planning application since we last met. We were objecting to a development in a property and having put his position forward at Central Bedfordshire Council agreed with us and they rejected it as well. We are expecting it to be appealed at some stage, but Nick did go and represent the Town Council extremely well.
Wonderful. Well, I'd like to extend my thanks to Councillor Kotarski. Unfortunately, he's not here, but I extend them anyway. So that's item 9. We're at item 10, which involves the exempt items. So I believe sorry, if I could just get some advice.
So if a member could propose that we move into confidential session.
Happy to propose that we move to confidential session.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
I'm happy to propose second that we move into confidential session, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gurney.
So we will now stop the live stream and end the recording as we're moving into confidential.